Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about highway riding. It was suggested to me to bring this up in a video from the comment section, and I think it's a good one. So if you want to talk about or learn anything about driving a Spyder on a highway, stick around. So highway driving for me, when I considered a Spyder and I actually purchased it, was a very big worry bead. It was just one of those things that I had fear of. I remember leaving the dealership and I could turn right to go on the highway and I could turn left for the back roads, and I definitely started on the back roads. It was a 50-mile ride. I did some Google research, Google Maps, figured out my route, and I definitely stayed on the back roads. I just had this fear of riding 70 miles an hour with traffic on the highway. And again, in the context of all this is for maybe a newbie or a new rider. I am new to the Spyder. I'm new to on-road wheels. At age 56, I don't have a lot of miles under my belt per se, like a lot of you do. So riding on the highway was a big worry bead. I know riding around on normal traffic should be a worry bead, right? There's a lot going on with traffic and people turning in front of you and just a lot going on. But specifically the highway was just something that made me really nervous. So my technique, just kind of common sense, I guess. I just spent a lot of time after I got home with this machine driving back roads at various speeds and testing out road undulations and trying to get a feel for how this machine behaved, and just sort of gradually increased my speeds and found roads that kind of upped the speed every time. I'd start on roads that were 45 miles an hour and drive around 45 to 50, and then I felt comfortable, and then I would, pick roads that maybe 55, even 60. I just sort of, took my time, learned the machine, and just gathered my wits about how this thing handles and how it is to be with traffic. I know one of my friends said, Mitch, when you get on the highway, you're going to find it easier than just driving roads with oncoming traffic. You're with the flow of traffic, it's not oncoming, and it's just, you'll find it, I guess it's not as nerve-wracking as you think it's going to be. So let me get through this intersection here. So anyway, yeah, I just did a lot of back road riding. I didn't go on the highway until probably 500 miles. And it was one of those rip the Band-Aid off moments. As a matter of fact, in this video, we're headed towards the highway now. So I'll show you. I'll go down the highway and we'll just kind of cruise. And I know the reason I don't do a lot of highway filming is it's just for a YouTube video, it's just not that glamorous. There's just not that much scenery to film on the highway, and just back roads are more fun. But this is a touring machine, so it's going to find a lot of its mile munching on the highway. But yeah, I had a situation where I had to take this back to the dealer, again 50 miles away. I had a window that was kind of tight. We had weather coming in and they could get me in, and I'm like, I have to do it. And I just sat there and looked at the map and I looked at the weather and I looked at the time, because if I didn't make that day and that morning, it was going to be probably 4 days of inclement weather, and I did not want to delay my servicing. So I literally just left my house and came to the fork in the road where I was like, do I take the back roads or do I get on the freeway? And I just ripped the Band-Aid off and I did it. I got on the freeway and I was scared. I got on the freeway, I got up to speed, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm doing it. And guys, it's not that bad. I think it looks worse in video, but this was a very stable machine, and when you're at highway speeds, it just glides down the road. Now you got to practice all of your, highway behaviors as if you were in a car, right? Not to tailgate somebody and, not be in the left lane and just kind of stay out of harm's way. But it was not that bad. The thing that you have to get used to that was scary for me is big trucks going by 18-wheelers, and I made it a point. I was on my way to the dealership on the highway, and there was an 18-wheeler going sort of slow, and I'm like, I could stay behind them or I could get the gumption to pass. And I kind of stayed behind them for a little while just to practice and judge what the wind buffeting felt like, you know, not tailgating, but just sort of like getting a feel for being in the right area and the distance that the wind swirls off of a large truck. So I practiced that a little bit. When I had ample time and space, I went in for the pass. You know, I didn't want to stay next to him long as you would in a car, and I remember having that moment of fear, and I said it in my other video that, oh my God, I'm next to an 18-wheeler. If he blows a tire or something happens or something falls off or he swerves, I'm dead. But I think every motorcyclist, Spyder rider probably goes through that. You're human. It's an uncomfortable time, at least it was for me, but I made it around the 18-wheeler. And again, kind of another check off the list of things on the highway. And you know, another thing that I knew I had to go through 2 exchanges, so I was kind of, you know, nervous, but sort of practiced my changing one highway to another situation, kind of snaking around ramps and turns at speed. And you know, in the end, it is not that bad. You just have to sort of do your due diligence and practice, understand the machine, and go for it. But I suggest doing a lot of back road riding first. And that's how I learned. And then another thing that was new on that trip, and I didn't think about when I got on the highway, was cruise control. As a new rider, I still have a little bit of death grip, and I found myself on the highway going, oh, I'm going to be an hour on the highway. I'm just kind of squeezing this grips to death. So I was like, well, I didn't read the manual. I'm just going to turn on the cruise control. And, you know, that's what it's for. It's there. It's made to be easy, and that wasn't that bad either. You just hit the cruise control button and regulate your speed. Now, the thing that threw me for a loop, again, had I read the manual, I may have known. So, as I was going down the highway and I had to turn off the cruise control, just like a car, I kind of tapped my brake and just assumed that that's how I would turn off the cruise control on the highway. And it didn't really think anything more of it, because that's what a car does, and even though it's a motorcycle, this is what it should do. But I think what happened was, for some reason, in the midst of my death grip, you know, the throttle grip goes forward, right, for reverse, and to acknowledge the, you know, I'm gonna ride safely information placard that comes up in the instrument cluster. I must have moved my hand forward, and it startled me. I must have moved that throttle grip forward or did something, and the cruise shut off. And I remember I had a moment of panic. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? The machine is broke, the cruise control shut off, I didn't know what happened. I'm like, what did I do? And I was riding for another 15 minutes, and I was like, oh, maybe the cruise control would turn off if you move the throttle forward and if you tap the brake, or I guess And so I kind of practiced it. I turned the cruise control back on, and then I practiced moving the throttle forward, and that's what happens. It shuts the cruise control off. So I definitely learned that on my first trip. So here we are in a roundabout. We're going to get on the freeway and go for a little freeway cruise, and I'll switch ramps and do a little snake to another freeway, and you guys can experience it with me. Get up to speed. Hopefully you can hear me with this audio. This is a good test to see how my audio works. So we're gonna hit the ramp here. This machine has no problem getting up to speed. Check our spot, use our signal, and I bumped the gauges and not the signal, which I actually hate doing. That, and I have to find my way back. There we go. Okay. Anyway, we're back. We're doing 70 on the freeway. No problem, guys. You will hear and feel some wind buffeting, but this thing really does a great job of keeping the wind off of you. No problem. We have smooth asphalt. Now, it may appear as though I'm moving around a little bit. It's not that bad. It's not pulling me around. This is a good, smooth surface. I'm not having to do a lot of extra work. to maintain this sort of area in my lane. It's really smooth and it's a piece of cake. Now up here we'll do a little bit of a S sort of migration onto another freeway, and I'll actually get up to speed over 70 on the next freeway. But yeah, I mean, this is it, guys. We're just kind of cruising. This is 54 miles an hour, so it's not 70 plus, but we'll reach that here in a couple miles. But yeah, easy. I know from a perspective of being in a car and looking out the window when I would drive, I would be like, oh my god, I don't know if I want to be on sitting on something going down the freeway at 75. It just seems so just unsafe. You know, I'm in this cage in a vehicle and I just feel protected. But this machine is stable, it's large, I feel very safe on it, which is why I got 3 wheels. I want to be seen, I want to feel safe, I want to feel stable, and that's what this thing provides. Again, can't speak to a lot of experience on 2 wheels. I'm sure others have their opinions, but yeah, this is rock solid on the freeway. And when you're in high wind situations, it'll move you around a little bit, but you know, coming home from the dealer, I actually had my first experience with rain on the freeway. So I'm on the freeway learning, and then we got rain. So that I was kind of thrown into that situation too. And rain is not a big issue. It wasn't huge downpour, but enough to just keep the rain off me and up the windshield and some specks on my visor. But I'm sure, you know, torrential rains would be a little bit more challenging, but I did learn some, you know, all-weather riding on the freeway. So just up here, we're going to make a little S and switch to another freeway, and I'll turn the cruise on, show you how smooth it is, and we'll get off at one of the other exits. So yeah, guys, you just got to conquer the fear if you have it of freeway riding. It's just not that bad. Now, what's scary for me is there's a guy right behind me in my mirror who I think is very close. That scares me. People tailgating me. I don't like that. I don't tend to tailgate people myself. But being out here on this bike, I think the looking behind and having people tailgate me is probably scarier, or one of the scariest things. Going to the turn signal. Alright. So again, just practice your corners. This is a 30 mile an hour corner. I probably won't slow down to that, but it's something they teach you in performance driving school, which I've taken on vehicles, is you want to do a lot of your braking before you get into the corner. So you want to slow down and have an entry speed. You don't want to get in the corner and then start putting on your brakes. That unsettles a lot of machines, cars included. I'm sure it's the same with bikes. Don't make any erratic braking when you're going into a corner. Have your speed on entry already set. Don't work all your brakes mid-turn. It's not a proper thing to do. Alright, so here we are. We're just gonna merge over here to the next lane. We'll merge over one more lane. I'm gonna turn on the cruise control. You see the little indicator in the display up there, and my signal's still on. There we go. Now we're doing 70. Gonna turn on the cruise. It's set to 71, guys, so I'm just cruising. Gonna bump it down a little bit, and that's it. We're driving. And if you wonder how smooth it is, it's very smooth. Hands off the wheel. This machine goes right down the road. Look at that, guys. You don't have to do a whole lot. It just cruises. I don't recommend taking your hands off the handlebars, but just to show you, it is a smooth machine at highway speeds. I'm getting a little buffeting from this truck in front of me. It's not a very windy day. But yeah, I mean, it's a little trafficy out, you can see in here, but am I concerned? No, not one iota. let this guy in. Come on, people, get over, guy. So guys, let me know how you've mastered your fear of highway riding, or tips for the community. I think some of these videos I'm doing for me, for you, for the community, just to spark conversation and have all of us learn as newbies that are out there. So you guys with a lot of experience, chime in. I still have a lot to learn, but you know, overcoming fears in the riding every day to the point where it's very comfortable. You don't want to be too comfortable. You always want to be on your guard, but this is a very comfortable machine on the highway. You could see munching a lot of miles with it in the future. So we'll get off at this next exit and wrap this video up. Turn signal right that time. Yeah, the whole turn signal thing, I still have to look down a little bit. It's not natural with my finger, and as you saw back there, you hit the gauge button and move the display around, so occasionally I still do forget about the turn signal and have issues with just not looking down, but that'll come with time. All these controls, you'll just figure out over time. A lot of gravel trucks around this area. That's one thing I do not want to be behind very often, or tailgate. I don't want to get a rock in the radiator or get hit by a rock. So anyway, guys, that's the highway video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions or any videos you want me to make, leave them in the comment section. I read all of them. And with all that, I will see you in the next one. Have a good day.